Hare Krishna, devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev, and all glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna, thank you all for being here. Another beginning of a new week. Today is Monday, and we have His Grace, SALIKA Prabhu, who will be speaking to us today. Prabhuji, if you're ready, we'll put the verse on the screen and then you may take it over from here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Yes, let's take off.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Naraichaivam Naruttama Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tatu Jayam Udirayet Master Apraisu Abadrisu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttaman Sloke Tinashiki. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Reading from SRIMAD Bhagavatam. We're reading from the second canto, chapter 1, text number 1. Sri Sukha Uvacha Variyam Eshate Prashna Krito Loka Itam Dripa Atmavit Samata Apumsa Srota Vyadishu Yapara Sri Sukha Uvacha Variyam Eshate Prashna Krito Loka Itam Dripa Atmavit Samata Apumsa Srota Vyadeshu Yapara. Word for word translation. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Varian, glorious, Esha, this, Te, yo, Prashnaha, question, Kritaha, made by you, Loka Itam, beneficial for all men, Nripa, O king, Atmavit, transcendentalist, Samataha, approved, Pumsaha, of all men, Srota Avyaha, Srotavya Adishu, in all kinds of hearing, Ya, what is, Paraha, the supreme. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, the Bhai Charana of India. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Patita Pavanjaga Guru Srila Prabhupada. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, my dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Even the very question is so nice that it is the best subject matter for hearing. Simply by such questioning and hearing, one can achieve the highest perfectional stage of life. Because Lord Krishna is the original Supreme Person, any questions about Him is original and perfect. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the highest perfection of life is to achieve the transcendental loving service of Krishna. Because questions and answers about Krishna elevate one to that transcendental position. The questions of Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna philosophy are greatly glorified. Maharaj Parikshit wanted to absorb his mind completely in Krishna, and such absorption can be effected simply by hearing about the uncommon activities of Krishna. For instance, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance, disappearance, and activities, one can immediately return back to Godhead and never come back to this miserable condition of material existence. It is very auspicious, therefore, to hear always about Krishna. So Maharaj Parikshit requested Sukadev Goswami to narrate the activities of Krishna so that he could engage his mind in Krishna. The activities of Krishna are non-different from Krishna himself. As long as one is engaged in hearing such transcendental activities of Krishna, he remains aloof from the conditional life of material existence. The topics of Lord Krishna are so auspicious that they purify the speaker, the hearer, and the inquirer. They are compared to the Ganges water, which flow from the toe of Lord Krishna. Wherever the Ganges where waters go, they purify the land and the persons who bathe in them. Similarly, Krishna Katha, or the topics of Krishna, are so pure that wherever they are spoken, the place, the hearer, the inquirer, the speaker, all concerned becomes purified. Hare Krishna. Om Agyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Gyanam Shalakaya Shakshu Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantitam Van Deam Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakam Ragunatam Vitantam Sa Jivam Sa Advaitam Sarva Drutam Parijanam Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Saganam Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Shindu Dinabandhu Jagapati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Savaneshwari Rishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamamin Hari Priye Mukhaṁ Karoti Vachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Yat Kripata Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Vancha Karpataru Vyascha Kripas Ndubhya Sevascha Patitanam Pavashnevibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Raman Rama Rama Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 2, chapter 1, text number 1, sorry. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 1, text number 1. Sri Sukha Uvacha Variyan Eshate Prasnaha Krito Lokam Itam Nripa Atmavit Samata Pumsaham Shrota Vyadeshu Yapara. Sukadev Goswami said, "My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists." Hare Krishna. So, dear God brothers and sisters, I want to start by offering my respectful obeisances to everyone once again. But before that, I want to offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy we all are existing. Unto all of the spiritual masters, right from Lord Nityananda Balaram to our present acharyas. My obeisances to all the superiors who are seated before this platform this evening, morning, afternoon, depending on where we are. To all God brothers and God sisters, I pray and beg that I may say something that will be purifying to myself and be of a benefit to all of those who will hear, listening to this transcendental discussion. This discussion is very sweet. And when I got the notification to speak yesterday, I was thinking, how do I approach this verse? Because this verse, this chapter of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam defines the whole of what Bhagavatam is all about. According to the Bhagavatam itself, as we will find out in the end of this chapter of the SRIMAD, canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, there are 10 topics that are discussed in the whole of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. And the subject matter of SRIMAD Bhagavatam is so wonderful, why it is considered the topmost activities of talking and hearing. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described it as spotless. He called it Pramanam Amalam among all the Vedic literatures, because there is nothing that is superior to this subject matter of SRIMAD Bhagavatam. The whole of our Vedic scriptures, the transcendental narrations given by our acharyas, all concludes. Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu concludes that this SRIMAD Bhagavatam, hearing of this SRIMAD Bhagavatam, although there are 64 items of bhakti, and 5 are considered to be most important. But even out of the 5, above them all is the discussion, hearing about SRIMAD Bhagavatam. Why is this so great, so powerful? Because there is nothing that is superior to Krishna. Krishna is the Swayam Bhagavan. He is the supreme. He is the beginning, the middle of everything. And because it's everything, there is nothing that can be compared to him in any ramification. So wherever Krishna is present, there is not anything that can be compared. Every other thing becomes subservient. But when Krishna became manifested in this planet, he has to leave. He was looking. Because when there is no Krishna, there is no existence. So Krishna decided to keep himself here through this wonderful book called SRIMAD Bhagavatam. And to compile it, he himself incarnated himself in the book form. 5,000 years ago, he appeared as Krishna. But in this age, because people cannot relate with him because of the degrading qualification of this age, so himself decided to descend himself in a different form. In the 10th canto of SRIMAD Bhagavatam, and the 10th chapter of the SRIMAD Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has explained that he is manifested in different forms of the demigods, the Indra, and many, many. But of all books, is called Grantha Avatara. Is the book incarnation of himself. So he descended, and to make it so authentic, he himself had to incarnate in a Shakti Vesh Avatar in the form of Srila Vyasadeva to write this SRIMAD Bhagavatam. So this SRIMAD Bhagavatam is so glorious. And the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is divided into 10 cantos. Of course, the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is actually, because it is Krishna himself, the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is not non-different from Krishna. And that is why it is said that when SRIMAD Bhagavatam is kept anywhere, there cannot be inauspicious in that environment. It's not possible. But that is a philosophy around that. We'll come back to that later. But let us go to the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, because I said in the beginning that this SRIMAD Bhagavatam, this particular chapter we're starting today, the Canto 2 of SRIMAD Bhagavatam, is describing, is going to give us what we should expect in the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. There are 10 subject matters that are discussed in the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. The first canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is actually the features of the Lord, is this Lord himself. When we go to before the deities, when we want to see the Lord, according to the standard of bhakti as given by the acharyas, the first point to go to is the lotus feet of the Lord for those who are trained. So the first canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is considered to be the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second and the first canto, they are the lotus feet. Only when one gets the shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord can he be able to see the Lord. Otherwise, he will see marble, he will see wood, he will see paper, and every other ornament or object that Krishna manifests through. One cannot see the Supreme Personality of Godhead unless he has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the first canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam and second canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is considered the lotus feet of the Lord. The third, the fourth canto are the thighs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is described that in this same SRIMAD Bhagavatam, the fifth canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is the navel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The sixth canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is considered the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead going upward, just like as we're looking at the deities. And the seventh and eighth canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam are the arms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The ninth canto is described as the throat of the Supreme Personality. And then we look at this different part of the body, how significant they are in our personal experience. The 10th canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, which is glorified by the activities of the Lord in this Madhurya, transcendental relationship with the gopis of Vrindavan, is considered to be the face of the Lord. When one starts looking at the deities from the lotus feet, when it gets to the feet, to the face of the Lord, that transcendental lotus feet of the Lord is called the perfection of all existence. Because the eye is said to be the windows of the body. So when one's vision comes to the face of the Lord, then he is said to have achieved everything. But then there is 11th and the 12th canto. The 11th canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is considered the forehead of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the 12th canto is his head. So those who are pure devotees, when we look at the Lord from this mood, right from this lotus feet, when they come to that, when they have the vision to the head of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they have no other thing at that point than to do what? To offer full obeisances at the shelter of the lotus feet. So we take shelter at the lotus feet of SRIMAD Bhagavatam so that we can be able to express something about the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. The great acharyas glorify SRIMAD Bhagavatam so much so that sometimes for those who are not on the path of bhakti, it looks as if like some mundane glorification. So this is the features of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. This is what the SRIMAD Bhagavatam represents. And like I said, there are 10 subject matters. the first chapter, the first canto of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, or the 10th topic, sorry, which the second canto of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is going to reveal to us at the end of this canto. Is described as Sarga, or universal creation by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the second topic is described as Visaga, or secondary creation by the Lord, which is done by Lord Brahma. And the third subject matter of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is described as Sthanam, or positioning of living entities in various planetary systems. Poshanam is the loss protection of the devotees, which is described as the fourth topic of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. In the evocation of this second chapter, Srila Prabhupada described this in his purport. The fifth subject matter discussed in the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is Uti, or the inclination to act. And as we go in this second chapter, all of these subject matters will be introduced properly. And the seventh subject matter discussed in the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is called Anukatha, or the topics of the Lord's various incarnation and his devotees. The eighth subject matter is Niruddha, or annihilation. And 9 is Mukti, or liberation. And of course, after Mukti is the shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, because when one becomes liberated, only then one can take shelter in the bhakti as given in the SRIMAD Bhagavad Gita, 1854. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Anasu Shati Nakan Shati Samasavishu Bhukteshu Magbatim Labate Param. That only when one becomes liberated, when one is transcendentally situated, only then he can take shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. So this SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is such a wonderful book. And to discuss about it, to talk about SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is described as the essence of the supreme, of the whole of the human existence. And it's starting with the subject matter about hearing about this book, and that is why so much emphasis is given to the importance of the book. Because when we look at the text of today, Sukadev Goswami is saying, we have heard from the first canto the story of Maharaj Parikshit, and what led to this question. What is that question that Maharaj Parikshit asked? Maharaj Parikshit asked a question because every human existence on this earth has only 4 things in common. They take birth based on their different inclinations, and they die, no matter how powerful they are. And in between death and birth, there is old age and disease, which are the preliminary activities to death. So everyone in this material world will die. And if that is the ultimate end of everyone, it is important subject matter for one who is intelligent. And so Maharaj Parikshit asked a question. So for one who is about to die, what is his duty? So when Maharaj Parikshit asked, we've heard the stories, how Sukadev Goswami appeared in the first canto and all of that. But because that subject that actually brings about freedom from the fear, the misery, the pain of death is none other than the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna himself. So Sukadev Goswami, who we have had in the previous canto of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM as a very qualified personality, is saying here that this question that is asked by Maharaj Parikshit is the prime subject matter for hearing. Why? Because it is approved by all the transcendentalists. And why is it approved by all the transcendentalists? Because it focuses on this transcendental subject matter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original person. In the beginning of devotional service, we used to funnily call our regional secretary in West Africa original. And why were we calling him original? Because we know that whatever subject matter that is needed to be discussed, once it gets to him, it will get resolved. But the original personality of Godhead, as stated by Lord Brahma, is Krishna. Whatever the living entity is going through in this material world begins and ends in the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, that subject matter that relates to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the essence of human existence.
Salika Prabhu, we have a problem with your connection.
Around only this. Anyone in the end, sorry, I'm okay. I think I not. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You were breaking up, but you are clear now. If you're having difficulties, you probably may have to turn off your camera and just use the audio. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, I think we have to exercise a little bit of patience to see if His Grace Salika could come back on. Seems he's having issues with his connection.
Nadia Gojumani Tananda Mahajan Nadia Gojumani Tananda Mahajan Hatya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan Hatya Chinam Hate Jibera Karan Shradhavan jan hai, Shradhavan jan hai, Shradhavan jan hai, Shradhavan jan hai, Prabhu aagai bhai magiye bhikha, Prabhu aagai bhai magiye bhikha. Koro Krishna Shika. Bolo Krishna Vajo Krishna Koro Krishna Shika. Aparara Shunna Hoy Loho Krishna Naam. Aparara Shunna Hoy Loho Krishna Naam. Krishna Mato Krishna Pito Krishna Dana Pran. Krishna Mato Krishna Pito Krishna Dana Pran. Krishna Samsara Koro Chariyana Cham. Krishna Samsara Koro Chariyana Cham. Divedaya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharma Divedaya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharma Shadhavan Jana He Shadhavan Jana He Shadhavan Jana He Shadhavan Jana He Nadia Gojum Nityananda Mahajan Nadia Gojum Nityananda Mahajan Katya Chenam Hate Jibera Karan Katya Chenam Hate Jibera Karan Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me? Haribo.
Yeah, Salika Prabhu, I can hear you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, sorry for
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry for that break in transmission. Material nature sometimes. This is exactly what we're talking about. So,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sorry for material energy. My network just went down for whatever reasons. I'm sorry for that break. Okay. So as we're discussing, I say that the importance of hearing this subject matter about SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, I was referencing 3rd Canto, chapter 16, text number 6 of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM before the line went off. So in that verse, it is mentioned that anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandala, who lives by cooking and even eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if he takes birth in hearing, through the ear, the glorification of the name, fame, etc. Now, you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to offer on my own if it conduct is found holistic to you. But the point we're trying to use here is just by hearing, even one is the most sinful person described here. Even the person is a chandala, even if the person is a gross meat eater, just by hearing the transcendental vibration of the subject matter about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the person becomes purified. That is the potency of the supreme of the hearing. So therefore, Sukadeva Goswami is glorifying that activities here. In this verse we read, there are three subject matters generally. One is that the glorification of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM as a book, or Grantha Avatar, like I said, which is the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God, which is the book incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God. The nature of the pure devotees, or those who are on the transcendental platform, is that they are constantly engaged in activities of hearing about Krishna. Machita, Magata Pranam, Kundiya Stas Parasparam, Kantaya Scha Mam Nityam, Tuchianti Sha, Ramanti Cha. The pure devotees of the Lord, they only take pleasure in only one activities. Once they come together, they discuss the subject matter about the transcendental personality of God. This is the qualification of the pure devotees. The pure devotees are always hearing about him. And because that subject matter is the medication for all the difficulties that is manifested or that is existing in the material world. And it's so powerful to the extent that Lord Krishna himself declared in the Bhagavad Gita, as paraphrased by Srila Prabhupada here in the purport. Srila Prabhupada said, for instance, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's appearance, disappearance, and activities, Achami Divyam, Evam Yo Veti Tatwa Deha Puna Jarma, Naitimam Etiso Junam. So that's that verse. Prabhupada is paraphrasing, emphasizing the qualification or the potency of hearing about the subject matter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who hears, irrespective of one's position, just by hearing, by giving oral reception to this transcendental subject matter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes automatically fortunate. There are so many references in the scriptures that glorify these activities of the Lord. In the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, first canto, chapter 1, text number 15, the sages of Namisarayan, they already discussed, they told Sutta Goswami that, oh Sutta, those great sages who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God can at once sanctify those who come to touch with them, whereas the waters of the Ganges can sanctify only after prolonged use. So the significance of Sukadeva Goswami appearance is glorified by the sages of Namisarayan. And sages like Sukadeva Goswami becomes blissful when the student like Maharaj Parikshit make an inquiries, when he asks questions that relates to the subject matter, which is the life and soul of the pure devotees. So Sukadeva Goswami here is glorifying Maharaj Parikshit's question. Why? Because that question is going to lead to the discussion about the ultimate subject matter, which is the nature, the form, the pastimes, the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the purport, Prabhupada explained that this subject matter, it does not really matter where one is situated. whether one is in the lowest state of life, whether one is in the liberated stage of life, the position of the four Kumaras, when one has attained that liberated stage, or one has become liberated like Sukadev Goswami himself, one naturally becomes attracted to this subject matter, because this subject matter alone glorifies or purifies the living entity. In this Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, text number 19, Lord Prabhupada explained in the purport that just by giving aura reception to the transcendental subject matter about this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all fears are dissipated. There are several verses in the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna emphasized that just by hearing, just by giving just aura reception to this subject matter of Bhagavad Dharma or Bhagavad Kata, one becomes automatically fortunate. In other words, one is unfortunate who is not attracted to the hearing this subject matter about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, as we go into the second canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami is going to explain why this subject matter is so glorified and why he glorified Sukadev Goswami, and why he glorified Maharaj Parikshit in this manner. And Prabhupada explained in the purport that it is so powerful, this subject matter of Krishna Katha, or hearing about this, or the narration about the activities of the Supreme Personality of God and Krishna, when engaged in, for one who hears, for a person who asks about questions about him, the place where that question is asked about, the person who speaks about it, all of them becomes purified. And he gave an analogy of the Ganges water. The Ganges water flows across the globe. And wherever one touches the waters of the Ganges, he automatically becomes purified. So the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, from whatever point or whatever chapter one reads, or one hears about the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, it gives ultimately the same result, because it gives Krishna directly. But of course, for the purpose of purification for those who are conditioned, it is encouraged that one should take shelter by reading. The way to read the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, by taking shelter from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this first canto and second canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is described as the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because from these two cantos of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, one can establish himself on the platform of bhakti. And then one can engage in other activities of devotional service easily if one attentively hear the subject matter of this SRIMAD Bhagavatam. When it comes to the subject matter of SRIMAD Bhagavatam, the mouth is not enough to glorify the nature of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. The ears becomes imperfect. The Brahma, with his forehead, and so many ears attached to the forehead, becomes limited in his ability to hear. And Antashesha, with his thousands of ears of mouth, cannot glorify that glory of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, because the SRIMAD Bhagavatam is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So as we go into this second canto, Sukadev Goswami is going to take us on a journey, which is finally going to take us to the 10th subject matters of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. So as we dive into this ocean of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Chetu Darpanam Majanam in the Shishya Staka, that to cleanse the mirror of the heart, one should simply give oral reception to this narration about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Kali Yuga, the ultimate religion, Arainam, Arainam, Arainam Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasti, Eva Nasti, Eva Gati and Yata, is chanting the holy name of the Lord. But one cannot chant if he has not ear. Sometimes one wonders why someone is able to chant properly and one is not able to chant. No one can chant the holy name of the Lord who has not heard about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is why these 9 steps of devotional service start by what? Sravanam. It is not accidental that Sravanam is kept before Kirtanam. For one to be able to glorify the holy name of the Lord is the deliverer of the conditioned soul in the age of Kali. But for one to be able to chant the holy name of the Lord, one must sufficiently hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one cannot hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead except in the association of those who are pure devotees of the Lord. And the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM affords us this opportunity to hear the wonderful narrations of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. Prabhupada gave one analogy that people in Kali Yuga likes to go to a very far distance for the purpose of attaining the goal of religious principles, of visiting the holy dam. And Prabhupada said, when people go for 10,000, 15,000 kilometers of place of pilgrimage, then they consider themselves they have gone to pilgrimage. But the Ganges water is available everywhere. And when one just touches the Ganges water, it becomes purified. In the same way, the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is available at every moment in our lives. So all we need is just simply take shelter of it. And when we take the culture, the lifestyle of hearing the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, then life becomes a perfect experience. The subject matter we're discussing, as Sukadev Goswami said in the text we are reading, is the subject matters of those who are transcendentalists. One can become such if he associates with those who are transcendentalists. So I would like to stop here because I'm speaking this, I'm doing this service. I don't know how to describe it in the kind of form of an anxiety because of my conditional situation. Before getting to know I was going to give this class, I was already planning to have a Food for Life today. The Food for Life was supposed to be on Saturday, but then there was a marathon West African Regional Council meeting. So I could not do it on that day. So I planned to do it today. And somehow or the other, I don't know what Krishna is playing with me in terms of his games. So I planned 2 hours ahead to go and do the Food for Life and then come back and give the class. Then I went to the road. Somehow or the other, material energy was just dealing with me. And everywhere I turned my head to was blocked. So I had to take the prasadam back to the temple just to make sure that I'm here for the time for SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. So I have to, after this discourse, even though it's already getting late, to still go and do the Food for Life. So because of this, I'll beg for devotees to give me the opportunity to stop here and then use the next couple of minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes to interact for corrections, comments, contributions, questions on the subject matter of discussion today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, His Grace Salika Prabhu, for stepping in and a very nice demonstration of determination, because you were having issues with your internet, but you still made it to come and speak. Thank you so much. His Grace Ganga Prashad Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Salika Raj.
Hey, my master.
I am always inspired when I see you give class, because you don't give class out of convenience. You give class because there's some emergency, meaning that you are emergency acharya.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Very nice topic and well elucidated facts. When you were enumerating the viewing of the personality of God from his feet to the head, I was just thinking, I think I read Go Govinda Maharaj saying something, and I read some quotes of Prabhupada also, that we have the philosophy of mindset of seeing is believing. But somewhere along the class also, you mention it, that if we have to be able to understand God, then we don't have to depend on seeing. Because by seeing, we may not understand. But to understand means clean the inside of the ambiguities inside. And that will be through the ear. So you now put a question in my mind that is it not some aspect of mysticism or mystery that you have to see through the ear and not through the eyes? So can you help me explain this? It's just like a mind-boggling concept. You have eyes to see, but your eyes cannot understand. So you have to see from the ear. And if you see Bhagavatam 1.3.44, it said one can assuredly see Lord Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam. Assuredly is like a conclusion, but it's by giving oral reception, not through visualization. Thank you, Swami.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhu. You already answered the question. You know, before we start discussing the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, we have this first canto, chapter 2, text 18 of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. Nasta praise you, address you. Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya. Bhagavatam Uttamas, okay? Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. And the translation says that by regular attendance in classes, that is what Prabhupada translated it to be, on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the
Oh my God. Oh my God.
is almost, we know. No one can see anything that he does not know. We carry our phone. We came to understand that it's called GSM because we have heard about it. There is nothing one can know or can see unless he heard about it. So the first step in seeing is to hear. When $1 billion is kept in front of a monkey, it has no value for that $1 billion because it doesn't know what it is. In the same way, our knowledge is informed based on what is inside of us. So that is why the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, we are told that for us to be able to see, one needs to clean the heart, because the heart is the mirror that we use in seeing. The heart is the mirror that reflects what we see with these eyes. The eyes is just like a reflection, just like when we press a button on the wall of our house, light shows in the bulb. The bulb is not what is giving light. It's just what it reflects the light. In the same way, our eyes are reflections of what is inside of us. So that's just why the importance is given according to that verse I quoted. all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And only then, loving service unto the Supreme Personality of God is praised with transcendental song. And it's established as what? As an irrevocable fact. If we never knew that something is called stew, when we see the children, when a child will stool, and sometimes we see the children, he will pack the same stool and put it in his mouth. But I cannot do that. Why? Because I've come to know that stool is a waste, but the child does not know. So we only see what we know. We can never see what we don't know. And because our knowing is dependent on the heart, by the media of the mind. So therefore, the hearing process is very key, important, because the hearing goes inside to feed the mind. And when the heart is purified by such hearing, then only we can see. When we go to the school, the teachers sat us down in the classrooms and we look at the blackboard. Whatever the class teacher is writing on the blackboard is just like drawing on a sand by a child. It means nothing. But the teacher tells us this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. When you add 1 plus 1, it becomes 2. Only then we start knowing that what is 1. So therefore, just from the material understanding, this reality is that we are only seeing what we already know. No one can know, or no one can see what he does not know. And that is why emphasis is given onto the hearing, because it is through hearing that we come to know. And when we know, then we can see. So when we talked about viewing having darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have to hear first. And when we hear, then we know that, oh, this is what the Lord looks like. Then we can find the Lord by the assistance of the eyes. So the eyes is secondary, although a materialistic person thinks that seeing is knowing, because it's actually what? He is conditioned, he is covered. And that is why it's called a conditioned soul, because it's filled with 4 defects. And one of the 4 defects is that tendency to make mistakes. So because he is conditioned, he's making mistake of putting A before B before A. But A is before B. So knowing is before seeing. But generally, materialistic person, because of their conditional situation, they want to see before they know. And that is the fault. But the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM tells us that no, for us to see, we have to hear. Because only by hearing, we come to know. I don't know whether that answers the question, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Anyone else with any question, please? His Grace, Shumabara Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Hare
All
Krishna.
glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to all the assembled devotees. Anyway, thank you for the efforts, and I could empathize with your situation. So may Krishna help you.
Thank you.
In your explanation of the 10 subject of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, you mentioned Sarga and Visarga, which is the creation and the secondary creation. But if you could remember, when the sannyasi who gave class last, Keshava Swami, he was describing the same thing. And he gave another kind of subject to the first and second canto, qualification, adhikari, something like that. I was trying to understand, because he threw the question to us, but I was waiting to hear him what he would say. So can you relate what he was saying and what we know already as, the first and second subject.
Sorry,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. I'm not hearing you any longer. Is anyone hearing Salika, Prabhu? I'm not hearing him.
No, it's
Because
not.
he mute himself.
Okay, Hare
Okay.
Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't hear some part of that question. You were saying that
That the 10th subject of Srimad Bhagavatam
Srimad
start with
Bhagavatam.
Sarga and Visarga, secondary and the first creation and secondary creation. But when the sannyasi who gave lecture, Keshava Swami, when he spoke, he was saying something different about first and second canto representing qualification and adhikari or something maybe. I wanted to go back and again hear very well, but now that you also spoke on the same subject and you mentioned what I knew already, so maybe I'm the one who is spaced out. I just want to see if you can help to correlate what you mentioned from what you just mentioned today. Right.
Thank you very much. According to what Maharaj said, Maharaj is giving just like, let us start from what the Bhagavatam says first. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam chapter, this same second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam chapter 10, verse 1, the 10th subject of Srimad Bhagavatam is described. It says, Atra sargo visagasya stanam poshana utayam manvantara saankalta nirodha mukti asraya. This is where the 10th subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam is given. But when we talk about, thank you. Thank you for bringing it up. So that is what the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami said. He says, there are 10 divisions of statement regarding the following: the creation of the universe, sub-creation. When you look at Sadi Prabhu, please go to the synonyms a little bit. Let's see the synonyms. Okay, it's okay. It's too much. Go up. Yeah, I want to relate the word used to the text itself. He said, Sarga, statement of creation of the universe. Visarga, the statement of sub-creation. Stanam, the plenary system. Poshanam, protection. Utaya, is creative impetus. Amvantara, changes of manus. Isa Anukarta, the science of God. Niruda, going back to God, and Mukti, liberation. And then the final one, Asraya, the summon bonum, or the taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God. That is the authentic statement given by Srila Sukadev Goswami. But Maharaj statement, sometimes, thank you, Sadi. So Maharaj statement, sometimes when speaker speaks, there are sometimes we give allegories just to explain certain subject matter. Just like when I was describing the Bhagavatam to be the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that Lord Krishna is he incarnated in this age as the book Bhagavatam, and where I mentioned earlier on before. And what did he say? He said it's Granta Avatara, or book incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God. He manifested himself as the book form of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is described that's in the Upanishad that this book, or just like the Supreme Lord is a physical person, the feet of the Lord is considered. So in explanation of certain subject matters, sometimes the acharyas use certain scriptural text to explain, to give meaning to whatever is needed to be explained.
Just like when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was going to give explanation about the science of God, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya, and Prayojana. And when sometimes the speaker speaks, they said the whole of spiritual development is also Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. So we use this to describe the Sambandha Gyan means, or the beginning of devotional life. And what that entails is given in elaborate explanation of what the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. But sometimes the one will say that devotee is in the Sambandha Gyan. So it means that that devotee is in the beginning stage, and what the beginning stage entails may be detailed, but just to give an expression, or when we say someone is a Kanista Bhakta, it means that the person is a beginning devotee. But what is beginning of devotional service? In the 11th canto, it is given elaborate explanation what that details means. So when Maharaj was saying that giving the first and second canto, it is not the only first person that will say that. So some people will say that, just like we say that the Bhagavad Gita, the chapters 1, Prabhupada explained this, that chapter 1 to 6 of the Bhagavad Gita is the cover, front cover of all of the topics of Krishna consciousness. And 12 to 8, chapter 7 to 12 is the essence of what Krishna is giving. And 13 to 18 is the cover of Krishna's topic. So sometimes these allegories are given just to make to explain so that the student can understand. But that does not mean that he is wrong, but the direct meaning or the subject matter as given by Sukadev Goswami in the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is what we express.
Actually, I'm not saying he is wrong.
Yeah.
I intended going back to listen to his lecture to be able to decipher those the descriptions he gave. But because you also spoke on it today, so that's why I'm asking you if you can make a correlation between what he meant by qualification and adhikari as representing the first subject in first canto and second canto, okay, compared to what is already known.
Okay,
anyway, you haven't touched that. You're
okay,
just
let me go to that, because I don't want to speak for him. Unfortunately, that day he was giving a lecture. But let me explain what I understand by what he said. I heard him say that when you look at the subject matter, that's why I said that the detail of first canto, you see, if we look at the narrations of the first canto of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, from the first subject to the end of the first canto, it is giving the qualifications of one who is their qualifications, the quality that makes them attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is what is given. And when you look at the second canto, in the discussion of Sukadev Goswami, is talking about how, because when after Maharaj Parishit asked all of the questions that he intended to ask, we all remembered all of the stories that led to his questions. But when after asking that question, the subject, the answer, the direct answer to the questions of Maharaj Parishit gives the essence, which is what I explained in the earlier of the lecture, that the second canto of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is focusing on the narration of the activities, the form, and the pastimes of the Lord. It is going to bring us into that vision to make us understand this is the subject matter that is going to be discussed. And from the third canto onward, how that is manifested is going to be continued. In the third canto, how the living entity comes into place will be started with it. And then it will lead us to the 4 key verses of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, just like we have the Just like we have the Shatosloki of the Bhagavad Gita, then in that chapter, in the third canto, it will take us to the Shatosloki of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. So what I understand by a statement is that the first canto gives us the adhika, in the sense that that's why I said that sometimes when we use the word adhika or sadaka, or we use kanishta, sometimes we could use this as a qualitative word to describe something in summary. So when he says it is adhika, because it's not the first person that I've said that. I've had that in several lectures by some other senior scientists or devotees, that the first canto, because it gives the qualification of a bhakta. Because when you look at this, the template of first canto of SRIMAD Bhagavatam is talking about Maharaj Parikshit, the devotee, the Pandavas, Sutadev Goswami, who is eventually going to speak, their qualification, what led them, Vyasa Dev, who spoke the Bhagavatam. So it is more generally talking about their qualifications that make them who they are. And when you look at the second canto, it goes to explain how the Lord reciprocates with his devotee. So that is what I understand by the speakers using those allegories.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you, Sri Salika Prabhu. I'm impressed and amazed, and at the same time surprised that you have such good memory to remember everything Maharaj said the other day, to reflect on, to answer Srimad Prabhu's question. I was actually going to play the video so that maybe Srimad Prabhu may hear and maybe ask his question exactly how he heard it. But we have some hands up. So we go to His Grace Ganga Prashad Prabhu. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
It's just like a contribution to the lecture Maharaj gave. On that day, Maharaj graphically represented the 10 subjects matter of Bhagavatam. But he started by saying the main business of Bhagavatam starts from the 3rd canto and it ends in the 12th canto. And when he finished that graphical presentation, he questioned everybody. Then what is first and second canto? What do they represent? And I think some of the answers that we are given is like, they describe it as the content of Bhagavatam summarized. He said that is true. But then that the focal point of the first and second canto is to create understanding of what is the qualification, the adhikar, to be able to delve into these 10 subject matters. So he did not alter, but he graphically rendered the main business of Bhagavatam starts from the 3rd canto. This is what I understand. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, His Grace Ganga Prashad Prabhu. So you also have a very good memory, because as you were speaking, I kind of remembered how Maharaj started from cantos 3 to 12. And after he was done, he came back asking, so what cantos 1 and 2 represent? So Hare Chakra Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam to Salika and the assembled devotees and Gurudev. Thank you, Salika Prabhu, for your class. And in the course of your lecture, you kept insisting that we need to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And you are not the first person who have been saying it, that for us to actually seek the Krishna, we have to see Krishna through our ears. Now, there is a similar statement to that. If you go to it in the Christian world, they also say, "Oh, just believe in the name of Christ, and you will be saved." and people truly believe in that. Just believe in the name of Christ. So, isn't it the same thing that we are saying here? Just hear, listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, and your life will be successful. So does that hearing have a qualification? Just as like the Christian believing in Christ have a qualification, because sometimes it baffles me. You know, even Jesus himself was telling the disciples asked Jesus in Matthew chapter 13 from verse 10. They said that, Master, why is it that when we go out, you only preach in parables, but to us you preach differently? And Jesus said, because it is given you to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it's not for them, because they look, but they don't see. They listen, but they don't hear. Which means those who are blessed are the ones who look, but they see. Those who listen but they hear. So similarly, if you say we should just listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, does it have a qualification? Or just by we listening to it, it's enough for us to get purification and then make a headway? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arishaka, for that beautiful question. That's a beautiful one and a smart, intelligent one. I like that question. But we are not just saying belief, because belief is a manifestation of doubt. But we are not saying that we should hear Bhagavatam because we believe so. We know so, and that is why we are saying so. So Lord Krishna himself explained this when he speak in the Bhagavad Gita. He said, Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitram Ida Uttamam Prajya Sabhagam Damyam Susukam Katum Avyayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. And now he said, it is the purest knowledge. And because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. The word there is that it gives direct perception of the self by realization. So we are not just saying that one should just hear based on belief, but because this hearing process, it gives direct perception of the self by self-realization. So it is not a subject matter of belief, but a matter of knowledge. And that's why Krishna says that when you know without doubt, when you know without doubt, you have no other business. You would dive deep into this ocean of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service in 1519. So we are not just saying something based on beliefs. It is something that is proven, scientific, in perfect question, perfect answer. When Brahmatita Prabhu, Bob Cohen, when he met Srila Prabhupada, the first question he asked, if you go back to that book, Perfect Question, the first question he asked, he said, who is a scientist? And Prabhupada said, a scientist is what? It's a devotee, because what is science? Science is what? The research. How did they define this? Science means something that is proven based on experiment and analysis. And this process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam by practical analysis, the Sanat Kumaras, Sukadev Goswami himself, who is the reciter of this Srimad Bhagavatam, we've had the story. Srivas Vanachari narrated the story to us, and many other speakers have narrated the story, so I won't go into details of that. But we've had, Sukadev Goswami was liberated already. But when he hears that loving sentiment of devotion to the Supreme Personality of God, it evolves right from his heart. So we are not just saying based on belief, it is practicable, it is proven by scientific application, because it gives direct perception. When one chants the holy name, there is a direct reciprocation from the chanting of the holy name. And that is why it's different from chanting material subject matter or hearing material subject matter, because it has the ability, the capacity to purify the living entities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Salika Prabhu. I have one quick question.
Yeah, before you
Uh,
go, sir,
Yeah,
let me share this. Kavik and Prabhu share this on the chat room, trying to reflect what Maharaj gave that day, and what it means by Adhika, qualification, sadhana, means of attainment, and how he described the 10 topics of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, Brahma's creation. So I just wanted to share for devotees' reflection.
okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So my question has to do with hearing. Like Harishakra Prabhu was saying, we are always reminded about the importance of hearing. And we're discussing about Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev spoke the Bhagavatam and Maharaj Parikshit heard him. But before Maharaj Parikshit heard Shukadev, Shukadev did not just come and then sat and started speaking. He started speaking based on the questions that he was asked.
Of course.
If nobody asks you a question and then you just come and then you speak in, it's weird. What are you speaking about? So my question is, where does inquiry come into the picture when we talk about hearing, chanting, and remembering? There is no mention of inquiry. But without inquiry, how do we even hear from the person? How does the person speak for us to hear him?
That is the topic of. Thank you very much for bringing that up. That is actually the test of today's focus. But Sukadev Goswami is glorifying the question by Maharaj Parikshit. But where does the question comes from? No one can ask a perfect question who is not perfect. And that is why the question that was asked earlier on, and the Maharaj statement about the first canto being Adhika, qualification comes in. Because for the perfect hearing and perfect chanting to manifest, there must be a perfect inquiry. And for a perfect inquiry to come about, there must be qualification. And that is why the SRIMAD Bhagavatam takes us from the Narada Muni's case. He was in confusion. And one who is in confusion naturally would do what? He asks questions, because when you don't know, natural thing is that you want to know. And wanting to know brings about question. So for answers and repetition of the answers to manifest, there must first be doubt. But doubt, not just every doubt that is founded on qualification. And that is why SRIMAD Bhagavatam takes us from the first canto, chapters 1.
Frozen.
To the 19th chapter, telling us, Prabhupada used to give a general example that what? That in the assembly of gentlemen sitting by the table wearing ties and suits, you will never know who is a foolish person until he opens his mouth. So asking question is not just the matter, but a question that is backed with qualification. So qualification, questioning, so the Lord naturally asks, he creates the situation. And that is where Prabhupada quoted in that purport that one who knows, but how can one know about something he doesn't know? So therefore, for one to know what he doesn't know, he who knows must ask questions. And that is why the Lord arranges for Arjuna to ask questions from Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And that is why the Lord creates a pastime for Narada Muni to ask questions from Narada Muni. That is why the Lord created the pastimes. That is why we call all of these pastimes for Maharaj Parikshit to ask questions from Sukadev Goswami. So all that is why the same thing that makes the sages of Naimisarayan to be asking questions from Sutta Des Goswami. So for the perfect question, it must come from a perfect person. So no one can ask a perfect question who is not a perfect person. So therefore, the Lord, out of his compassion for the conditions in the material world, he himself arranges for perfect questions to happen. Brahmatita Prabhu, like I quoted, he came to Srila Prabhupada, and we have a book called Perfect Question, Perfect Answer. He wasn't just an ordinary person. They were, like we've always said, those who appeared along Srila Prabhupada, they were not ordinary souls. And Prabhupada himself said that in several purports. So inquiry is very key in getting the perfect answer or perfect repetition of the answer. But for that to happen, it must be a perfect person. And no perfect person is in the illusion. A perfect person is an empowered devotee of the Lord who has to come to ask the perfect question. Otherwise, you and I will be stupid. We will ask only nonsensical questions that will take us to hell. Because the one person asked me a question yesterday. He met me in a very bad mood. I have like about 15 calls like that every week. And when they will call, they say, we find your number on the internet. And the next thing they say, we want to make money. So how can we make money? So I was so pissed off when the person called me. Well, no, not yesterday, it was on Saturday. So I said, immediately he finished explaining, I saw your number on the internet. So I want to make money. I said, Hare Krishna doesn't make mystical money. We only give people how to love God. So when I started, we don't make mystical money. We don't make juju money. We only teach people how to love God. When I said that, the gentleman just immediately just dropped the call, jelly. He didn't even ask anything further. I said, Hare Krishna doesn't make money. If you want to make money, you go to the businessman. We are not business people. We only give love of God. So immediately I said that, he just dropped the call. Some other people will call, and I will be explaining to them, yes, you can become successful in life, that this and that. So I will try to package them. But when he called, I was in the kind of his mood. I just told him straight, I said, Hare Krishna is not a money-making organization. If you want money, go to a businessman. We give love of God. If you want love of God, then you can come to me. Immediately I said that, he just dropped the call.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you, Grace, Salika Prabhu.
Thank you, Ganga Prasad Prabhu. Ganga Prasad Prabhu quoted.
We'll go to that.
I know that verse.
We'll go to that after Ras Vilas. Ras Vilas, please unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Accept my humble obeisances. My question has got to do with the question is Grace Haritaka Prabhu asked. When he said, in our Christendom, it is said that live in the name of the Lord and you are saved. The account of John chapter 1 verses 12 says, as many as received him, to them gave him the power to be called the sons of men, and also to those who believed on his name. So I want to know, at what point shall we apply these two words to receive or accept something and just to believe in something? As long as the name Bhagavad Gita as it is implies, should we just accept it as it is? I mean to say that the Bhagavatam, as it has been presented by previous Acharya, the Guru Parampara, should we just believe in it or should we accept it as it is? And these two words, which one is best to describe the position of the Bhagavatam?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There are 4 stages in attaining success in any subject matter. The first stage is enlightenment. No one can make a choice when he has no enlightenment. The first stage in attainment of any success in anything is what? First is enlightenment. It's only when you have enlightenment about something, just like I said before, unless you hear about something, when you get to hear and know about something, then the next thing that comes is what? Choices. You choose whether or whether or not you want to accept on that particular things. It is after choice that acceptance comes. So when somebody says, accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, who is Jesus Christ? He doesn't know who he is. So how can he accept? So that is ignorance. So when somebody say, just accept and believe, that is ignorance. You cannot accept and believe what you don't know. It will be hypocritical. And that is why you see that so many people claim to be born again, but yet they remain in sinful activities. No one can accept what he doesn't know. So to accept means that what? You must first have an enlightenment about that subject matter. And after enlightenment or hearing about that subject matter, that is why even the Bible itself says that faith comes through hearing the word of God. He didn't say just hearing, he said hearing the word of God. He added that to it. Paul Apostle says that. So when people are talking about accept Jesus Christ as a personal Lord and Savior and believe in him, how can you accept what you don't know? It is the third stage in what? In the course of achievement of success in any endeavor. And that's why many of them will not be able to attain Godhead, because they don't know whom they want to accept. They talk about Jesus Christ, but they don't know who Jesus Christ is all about. They don't know who his personality is, who he is. So for them to know him, for them to accept him, you have to know him first. And when you know him, how do you know him? You hear about him. With each and every one of us like to drink yogurt. But how do we come to know, like yogurt? Because we heard about yogurt. We heard the glories of yogurt. Then we tasted it. After we taste it, then we take a choice. This thing is good for me. Then we accept it. So therefore, what comes first is not even acceptance or belief. Belief is the last thing. Because when you accept something, then you have what devotional service, in devotional service we call what? Unflinching faith. In other words, there is faith and there is unflinching faith. Unflinching faith is when your faith is no longer shaken by any ignorant level of doubt. And that doubt comes only when you don't know. So enlightenment and choices comes first before acceptance. Then only after acceptance, then you can have a positive belief. Otherwise, you believe based on ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. His Grace, Danka Prasha Prabhu. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Ras Vilas, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay.
All right, thank you. His Grace Ganga Prasad Prabhu put up a verse in the chat room, 1344. And he was talking about rapt attention. Prabhu, do you want to say something in that regard as to the text you indicated?
No, I was only buttressing the fact that Salika Prabhu quoted chapter 9, text 2, and he mentioned secret, and that is secret of all secrets.
Yeah.
So I refer to that very text where Prabhupada analytically presented that Bhagavatam is gotten through a process and there's a secret. So I mentioned if we go to that purport, we'll see how Prabhupada mentioned it. Hearing from somebody who is bona fide, like what Salika Prabhu was mentioning.
Yeah.
If you are not qualified, you have to qualify to represent.
Yeah.
So if you go to the purport of the same text, you will see how Prabhupada presented it. Hearing from somebody who is directly Sukadev or representative of Sukadev.
Yeah, it's here. Yeah, that's
okay.
it is.
And Prabhupada mentioned there that is the secret of learning Bhagavatam. Then he mentioned that is the process and no alternative.
Yeah.
These two concepts are embedded in this purport.
Thank you.
Well, the last line of the text is also, now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him and as I have realized it. So two important key words.
Absolutely.
You learn and then you realize. Then there is potency in what you speak. Hare Krishna. Mitravinda Devi, please, you may unmute. Mitravinda Devi.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you, Mother.
Oh, thank you so much. Please come at attention. I wanted to say regarding questions, there's a lot of critical energy around questions, and in general, in the material world. I just wanted to add like that, it's important in the stages of learning that we understand and really focus. My suggestion is more on the fact that questions are necessary in order to learn. There are components of that hinder education when people feel, or when one feels that their question is stupid, when they feel their question is not worthy, when they feel, it's going, I'm not going to get it. There's a barrier that's put in place, and that barrier can block the actual mood necessary for learning, which is to have, a certain amount of self-confidence that I'm going to ask. I want to ask because I want to know. And if we don't have that self-confidence to want to reach out and ask the question, then how are we going to know? I feel like too many people go away from understanding the path of bhakti when someone feels that perhaps their question is not right, or dumb or stupid, or these words that actually block learning. Dumb, stupid, ignorant. If someone's trying to learn something, then we shouldn't have that mood that my question is going to be dumb, so I'm not going to ask it. Everyone should be encouraged to ask a question. You will get an answer. The answer should be based on trying to truly, from the soul, help that person learn that God is for you too. God loves you. Ask your question. Ask.
Thank you, Madam Mitra Vrinda. Actually, the reality is that even materially, asking questions is a sign of wisdom, because that is what distinguishes a wise person from a foolish person. He who does not ask is a foolish man, because he does not, he doesn't know, because everybody is ignorant in the material world. And so the means of knowing is to ask questions. So that is why it is said that the symptom of a wise man is that he asks questions. But when he asks questions, he doesn't just accept. He processes what he hears, and he shun out what is the best out of what he hears. So question is not a symptom of foolishness, but is a symptom of wisdom. Only a wise person asks questions. A foolish person will never ask a question. He will just either accept it grossly without processing, or condemn it outrightly. So questioning is a sign of actually a wise person. I'll take one more last question. If not, okay, I'll have to eat 200 plates of prasadam today.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So we go to Oladimeji, please unmute. Oladimeji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhu Salika, thank you very much for the class. I really want to thank you for the way you have presented it, and by buttressing it with different of examples. My question is, when you mentioned something about just by listening to SRIMAD Bhagavatam, you explicitly explained more about the magnificent power and the benefit of just by listening to it. So my question is it just by listening, or the listener must be at a level of a certain consciousness before he or she can attain or benefit from listening to it, or mere listening? Because you pointed out something that actually touches my mind, that even when asking question during the Bhagavatam class, the location, the time, people around also benefit from it. That's very, very powerful statement. So I want to ask that, is it just by listening, or there must be a certain level of concentration or level of consciousness the listener must be before it can attain that level? Benefit from it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for this question. It's a very beautiful one. This is the difference between hearing and chanting. For you to chant, you require the qualification. Of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given it free, but still, you have to chant. If you don't chant, you don't get the benefit. But the hearing is so powerful that even if one is not interested, even if one is just a passerby, as long as the vibrations of the narration of the pastime form activity of the Lord is coming out from the mouth of a devotee, such a person benefits immediately. And that is what is called Agyata Sukriti. He is not interested, he never even wanted to. So hearing is that unless it doesn't hear, once it passes through all of the ears, it has the efficacy to destroy the walls that block it. And that is why you see that sometimes some Pentecostals said you don't listen to Hare Krishna people, because the moment you listen to them, you get a soft heart. Because why? They've seen over time that unless somebody does not listen, he gets attracted to the Krishna consciousness. And I'll give you a short narration. There is Guru Srila Prabhupada disciple. What is his name now? Sadio, I don't know. He's the one that chanted this bhajan. Haribo, oh Haribo. I've forgotten his name. When this Christian started in India, he was telling Srila Prabhupada, he's famous for chanting, he can chant all the, I'll remember his name. I've forgotten his name now, but he was Srila Prabhupada disciple. So he met Srila Prabhupada. So he took Prabhupada. No, not Vaisakhi. I'll remember his name. He was the one that started the boat Harinam preaching in India. So he asked Srila Prabhupada. One day, Srila Prabhupada was sitting down in Mayapur. Then he said, Prabhupada, I just felt like I should go on this boat and then go to the village and then just chanting. He said, but I have one disqualification. I don't know how to speak the local language. I don't know how to speak the local language. Papa said, who cares about what you say? It's just, they want to see what you do. But more importantly, just by them hearing that now, you benefit all of the souls. And that is why it is said, the worm, the flies, the birds, every living entity in the Jarikanda forest, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went into the forest and he was chanting, and the dogs, the elephants, the lions, the deers, they all started chanting along with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why? They don't have any qualification. They have no qualification at all. But because just by hearing from the right source, they become immediately purified. And when they become purified, they chant. So the hearing is good to hear with rapt attention. The level of benediction or the benefit increases. But even when one is not attentive, when one is hearing in Nama bars, still there is some potency in it. I think I'll stop there. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
It's already becoming late. You have to go and distribute the prasadam.
Yeah,
please. I'm begging. Forgive me. I had to go.
Yeah, thank you so much.
After distributing the prasadam, you need to come and continue the class because we have.
Okay, no problem. Accepted. But you all have to wait here.
Hare Krishna. So, Salika Prabhu, thank you so much for such a wonderful job. And we humbly requesting the devotees to kindly unmute. And then we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation for Salika to step in.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare All glories to His grace, Salika